that first it is doing the DNS resolving in the background, getting the IP address, and then it is trying to getting the website. Okay, so that's how it is kind of doing that. And let's say we open any other website. Let's say it's quite slow now. I think just because of this Firefox browser, it's actually getting slow. Warsack, it's actually getting slow. And quit.saving, and I think now it will cost. So let's say like this one, for example. Okay. So now if we go to the view page source, so we see that it's the HTML content over here. So this is a web page source over here. And we also see that there are a lot of, like, it is made out of, this website is made out of HTML content, a lot of CSS contents are here. And then there will be a lot of JavaScripts too, which will not be showing up here, but there'll be a lot of JavaScript tags also over here. Okay, so that's what all, like, what's the website is all made about. Okay, websites are made about of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and there are a lot of other technologies, text, etc. Okay, now the thing is that how this website works, like to take the user inputs, to take the user inputs, what they can do is that, again, like a lot of things are being utilized. Like there can be multiple kind of scripts that will be running in the front end, like at the user end, or at the back end, like at the server end. Like in the front end, it can be like JavaScript. In the back end, it can be like, let's say, Python or PHP, for an example. And that's where the user inputs are kind of how the web pages actually take the user input from us. Let's say when we just enter the passwords, and when we visit the facebook.com and we enter the password. So what happened is that the facebook.com, there's a JavaScript that runs in our background, in the background in our browser. Okay, and what it does, it processes our passwords and the username, and it sends that to the web server, of the Facebook. And that's where in the backend, what it does, let's say there's a PHP script that is running, it matches our username and password in the database. And if it is correct, it is telling, okay, I'm allowed to kind of log into the facebook.com. Okay, so that's how a lot of things are happening. So I'm just kind of giving you a vague idea, like what all things happens when some web servers are set up, and then we will kind of jump out to understanding HTTP and HTTPS protocol in much more detail. Okay, so there are file sharing using HTTP and HTTP protocol. There are web pages are being built using this kind of technologies. User inputs are shared and all. And then thing is that the common web servers that you will be kind of seeing in most of the scenarios, let's say the Apache web servers. Okay, Apache web servers, and like IIS, like Microsoft servers and all. And thing is that why you will be kind of saying, because these are the servers which are very, very easy to install. Okay, very, very easy to install. And thing is that these are the servers which are, you will see in the news that these are the servers which are very, very easy to kind of compromise. Like they also have like a lot of vulnerabilities in them. Okay, so this is something like these are the famous web servers softwares which you can kind of install in any kind of computer. So you can install, so let's say to make your computer as a web server, what you can do is that you can just install the Apache. So you can just, let's say if you are using a Windows system, you can just search for WAM. Okay, or if you are using a Linux system, you can just search for LAMP server softwares. And these are the flavors of Apache, Windows Apache or Linux Apache. Or for Mac, you can use XAMPP. Okay, so you can utilize that software. You can just search for this software, and it will actually, once you configure that, you can make your own system as like web servers. Okay, so basically it is nothing but a fancy file sharing system that uses HTTP and HTTP protocol for doing the file sharing. Okay, you can upload video, download content, and whatnot. Okay, using the web servers. And one of the easy way by which, using Python, let's say you can create a web server quite quickly, is by this one. So I'll just clear the screen, and let's say I want to. I will just say 127.0.0.1. Let's say I wanted to kind of run a web server locally on my system. So if I visit 127.0.0.com, There's nothing. There's nothing. Now let's say what I want to do that. So what I will do is that let's say I create a let's say I create a folder first. Okay, something I'll just name it randomly like web server. Anything, any name you can give. I'll go inside this web server, and the first thing I'll do is that let's say index.html for example. Okay, and in this I'll just write a quickly tag like HTML, and let's say title security training. Let's say title, and let's say body, and I'll say just say hello everyone. I'll just close this body tag. Okay, this is how the HTML normally look. I won't be going in the HTML part because this is not a website development training. So now this is something I'll just close out this one. So this is just a basic HTML script, and what I will do, I'll just save it. Okay, and now what I will do, if I again visit 127.0.com, you see that there is nothing. Again, there is nothing. Okay, now I mean to say is like want to run a server. So I'll just execute a code in Python. I'll say Python 3 -m http dot server, and I'll give a port number, let's say 80. Okay, so now the Python server is okay. So what I will do is that since 80 is somehow I think was utilized by some other port number, so what I will do is I will give a different port number over here. So you can run a web server not just on 80 or 443, you can run it on any other ports of your choice. Okay, so let's run it on 8080. Okay, so it says that okay, so now my system, rather than I don't have to install any kind of software just by one single line. So I will just kind of copy this and paste it over here. So just with single line in Python, you can create your own web server. And now if I visit this website, my local host, which is 127.0.0, 8080, you will see that you get the website served. Okay, so the title is security training, and this is the code of that. And if you just go to view page source, you see the content of that web page. So the web server is ready on my own host. Okay. Now the thing is that here you see, if you also see that okay, what were the requests that came in. So the local host, my system actually made a request to the get like this all thing I will kind of discussing later. Okay, but you will also get a lot of other details. So let's say I also did something like let's say hi.html. What I do is I would say cp index.html, and I say hi.html. Okay, and what I do is that let's say I just rename the index.html as index.html, index1.html. Okay, and now let's say again I run this query, and now if you see, if I go over here in this training browser, if I again do the same, you will see that now the index.html is not open. So index.html is something which opens by default. So if you save a file with name index.html, that will be opening as default, because now there was no index.html. It is showing me all the content of that folder. It says that okay, there is a hi, there is an index.html. So now if I click on this, I get over here. Okay, so this is what the functionality, and you see that okay, first I called the root folder, and then I called a specific file inside that root folder, which was /hi.html. Okay, so this is what like one of the way by which you can quickly kind of create a web server in your own system just by a single line of query. Okay, so this is all about like web servers. Now thing is that now let's go again to the next topic. So any questions guys till this part, feel free to kind of interrupt me. Okay, and now let's see how the URL actually look like. So here the URL was looking something like this one, which was 127.80.80, and then I was doing something like when I did hi.html, the URL was looking something like this. Okay, just something like this. So I'll just copy this out and I will paste this over here, for example. And now the last thing I will be discussing today for this class is so how to decode a URL. So that is something I will be discussing. So the normal URL. So if I go to again to this one, I go to this one and I